If I knew these 5 things when I started fashion photography and I could see ahead to what was to come, I probably could have saved myself years of frustration. Whether you're an established photographer or you've been doing it just a few years or you're just starting out, these key points will be really useful to you no matter where you are in your career. So in this video, we're going to break down 5 key elements that I wish I knew when I started fashion photography. We're going to talk about your network over your portfolio. We're going to talk about how gear is not everything. We'll talk about how much of it is business and how much of it is actually taking pictures. How rejection is constant, but it's okay. And how personal work will probably take you further than client work. So point number 1, your network is more important than your portfolio. Early on, I feel like it's easy to think that stunning images are enough. And I'm sure we've all heard the phrase, look, you can do X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, your work will speak for itself. Oh, I wish that's how it worked. I wish it was that simple. And although, of course, there is an element of that, it's important that your work is good. If your work sucks, it's probably not going to take you very far. But I'm sure we've all seen photographers with terrible work get the most amazing commissions, and there's usually a reason for that. And the truth, your connections will probably take you further than talent alone. In our industry, we are working in big teams. There is a lot of money on the line for potentially 1, 2, 3, or even a week's worth of shooting. And whoever is in charge of the purse strings wants to be assured that whoever it is they're working with is going to deliver and is going to do a good job. Not only that, but they want to make sure that who they're working with is fun and understands them and is easy to get along with and is easy to communicate with and is trustworthy, reliable, all these things. So a lot of the time, if people are just going off of work alone, that's not often enough to convince someone to book you. They want to know who you are and they want to know if you're someone they can trust and if there's someone that they can get along with. I'd say about 80% of my work has come from recommendations. And not only that, but all the work that I've put in meeting people in person, going to do portfolio viewings, picking up the phone, Zoom calls, video calls, and things like that. That's where the bulk of my work has come from. And especially now when, budgets are really tightening up and there's so much competition for work out there at the moment, there's a heightened need for people to go with who they know and who they trust. And if you're not known, and if you haven't been speaking to people, and if you're not out there and meeting and getting face to face and really giving people your personality, then nobody will know who you are or what you're like to work with. So try and bear in mind, don't just shoot. Get out there, meet people, network, go to events, try and get your book in front of people, try and get face-to-face meetings. At the end of the day, people buy people. So I know my work's good. I know that it speaks for itself, but they want to know that they can work with me. So I need to get out there and show people who I am and give them the best of myself, to give myself the biggest chance of winning a pitch. Not only that, but a big thing to bear in mind is, particularly in the fashion industry, it's very, very cliquey. And if you're happy to be a part of that kind of environment, then more than anyone else, you need to get out there and meet people and be amongst the people that are in a position to make decisions on who's going to get what job. Point number 2 is my favorite point: gear. You don't need the best gear, you just need a strong vision. I did a video about this earlier on in my YouTube venture, which I'll link below, and I think it's my most popular video. It's basically just me saying, gear ain't all that. If you can have the best gear in the world, but if you've got nothing behind the camera to put forwards, if you have nothing to say, then it means absolutely nothing. Because when you take a picture, when you create an image in whatever format it is, you are saying something. You are putting a set of words out there to the world. And if you don't have anything to say, it shows. I think most beginners, when they start out, they really do obsess over, the technology, the camera, the lenses and the lighting and, what they should buy. And I understand it. It's a very expensive stuff and you want to make sure that, the money you put into this and you invest is going to the right place. But it's not the thing that you should be investing your time thinking about. What really matters is how you see and capture the world. I did a video back in January, which I'll link below, that is all about how I created gorgeous images with very minimal gear, very minimal planning, and hardly anything to my disposal. And I did everything myself. And it's a great example of how you don't need all the gear in the world to create good images. So if you haven't already yet, try to focus on developing your eye, developing your storytelling, working on using simplistic, basic light, whether it be just natural light or just one light, whatever it may be, in whatever format it is, get used to using those things, and the gear will come later. When you figure out what it is you need, when you figure out what kind of way you like to work. Point number 3, it's 80% business and 20% photography. And that's me being generous. Many creatives think that talent alone is enough to get them booked, but the reality is so much of what we do is all the other hats you can think of. It's doing everything else to do with running a business, and we are all doing it on our own, more or less. It's marketing, it's branding, it's relationship building, people skills, it's production, it's selling ourselves, it's negotiation, learning and understanding how other people operate, body language and psychology, understanding how you can draw people in and really sell yourself and sell an idea and, explain why this is worth investing in and why you're worth investing in. These are all huge skills, hugely important skills, and it's something that we can all learn and develop, but they are very, very difficult, and they are so much of what we do. And once we've done all of that, then we can take the pictures. But all the while we're taking the pictures, we're still negotiating, we're still doing production, we're still organizing, we're still problem solving, we're still doing relationship building. It never ends. And taking the picture is I think 20% is generous. Shall we say 5% of what we do? One of the biggest lessons that I learned was you can meet someone and you can build a relationship with someone, and then you think, well, they know me now, so they'll contact me when they're ready with a job. And I know for a fact that it just doesn't work like that. You need to be constantly in the back of their minds, because they could be really excited by you 1 month, and then 3-4 weeks later they've already forgotten about you. They've moved on to something else, and perhaps in that time a job has come through that you might have been great for, but they've already forgotten about you. Had you kind of kept communication and just sent them new bits every now and then and just kept in the back of their minds, then they might consider you for that thing. So it's not only starting relationships, but it's also nurturing them as well. And I know this from my side when I'm thinking about who I want on my creative team, who I want as my hairstylist, my makeup artist, and my stylist, or whoever it is, my assistant. I've worked with so many different people, and I know from how my own brain works, if I get a job that comes through, or a personal project, or whatever it is, the first thing I think about is, right, who's going to do what? And sometimes it's down to who's got the skill set perhaps for the particular thing that I'm shooting, but so much of it is to do with who did I speak to last? Who's in the back of my mind? Who am I thinking about first? So visibility is so, so important. Point number 4, this is a tough one. Rejection is constant, but that's okay. And it's normal. Brands and clients, they have their own vision. People change and rotate. Again, it's that thing of who's cool, who's in the back of their mind. Everyone gets rejected. Even the best photographers in the world get rejected. 1 year they'll be doing a really big project for a major fashion brand, and then they'll do it again the next year, and then the next year comes around after that, and nothing. They've moved on. They understand that while that's really hard to deal with, and your first instinct is to think, what have I done wrong? Why wasn't I chosen again? Is things change, people move on, and it's really important to remember that it is not personal. I understand that rejection is a big part of what I do, and I still get rejected all the time. But the main thing is to keep putting yourself out there and to keep being persistent and to keep being visible and present, because while one job might get rejected, if you're constantly on it and you're constantly on top of things, then the likelihood is something else will come along. And that's happened to me all the time, and it's just getting used to that momentum. So as hard as it is, keep showing up, keep putting yourself out there, keep refining your work. Last but not least, point number 5, personal work will take you further than client work. The projects that get you noticed aren't always the big paid commissions. And The reason for that is because when you're doing a paid job, you're creating art for someone else. You're working to someone else's vision. Now, it's not to say that that person's vision is poor or is not great. It's simply because you haven't been allowed to do everything in the way that speaks to your voice and speaks to your perspective. Sometimes you'll have jobs that will allow you more creative freedom, and then sometimes you'll have jobs that will allow pretty much no creative freedom. They all completely vary, but more often than not, the paid jobs, you are going to be restricted in some way. Even when you think you've got all the creative freedom in the world with a client, you've got the dream client, there's always going to be that thing in the back of your mind that's thinking, I need to remember that I'm shooting this for this person, and I need to bear in mind this color scheme and this style of lighting, and I'd really like to make it dark, but we're shooting a product and we need to see the product. So there's all these things that you have to bear in mind, that they are restrictions and they won't allow you to shine your voice through in the way that you would like. And personal projects are the thing that will let you do that. I've talked a lot on my YouTube channel about all the opportunities I've had that have come through personal work. I would say 9 times out of 10, that is how I get my work. It's through the stuff that I've done that I love. Remember what I said earlier about clients really wanting to know if you're the right personality and the right character for them to work with? Well, that personality and character will only shine through truly through your personal projects. So that is often the reason why clients will book photographers based off of their personal work, because they can really see who they are and they can see who they are at their very, very best. One of the most surprising jobs that I had fairly recently actually was for Nokia. I remember going into the meeting thinking, I don't know how any of my work is going to resonate with the creative director. I haven't got anything in my book that is close to the sort of stuff that they do. And I don't even think I've got anything on my website that's going to be close to what they do. And what I didn't know is that the creative director loves fashion and she loves fashion photography. And I didn't know that when I gave her my book, she'd open it and she'd be full of energy and so excited because she was seeing it was completely irrelevant to, the sort of stuff that they commissioned, but she just was excited by my work and my personality and, what I put into it and the color and the richness. So you want to excite people the first time you meet them and you want to engage them, and you're more likely going to do that with the work that speaks, your voice and your perspective. So those are the 5 things I really wish I knew when I became a fashion photographer, and hopefully this video will help you on your journey and give you a little heads up on the things that perhaps you hadn't thought of yet. It'd be great to know which one of those points really resonated with you the most. Just drop me a comment and I'd really, really love to hear more of your thoughts. I shall see you next time.